everyone, and welcome to episode number 7 of the Knighted Ones podcast. We are the only podcast that features a former UCF National Champion, a former UCF radio host, and several podcasters shooting the breeze, talking UCF sports, or in football's case this week, whatever facsimile of whatever it was that we saw. So thank you guys for joining us in spite of the loss. We'll dissect some things. We'll talk about some things, talk about what we can do. And then we have a bye week coming up. So that's going to be exciting for the team to get healed up. And for us too, because we've got a little bit of a surprise for the bye week for you next week. So without further ado, let me bring in the squad. First up to the stage, I was going to pick Josh, but we all know he goes last. Let's bring in Alan Levin. Alan, welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show. We missed you last week.
Making my glorious return. How's it going?
Inglorious return for this week. But no, you did have a glorious pick last week, and we'll get into that later. Next, we've got Trey Neal, our resident national champion. What's up, Trizzle?
What's up? What's up?
Yeah, he actually changed his screen name earlier and then changed it back. I wanted him to keep it the same, but we'll keep that for us. Next, we're going to bring Josh Floppy Collar, and he's
no collars.
Collars. He said he's not going to be popping any collars until we get another dub. So hopefully that'll be sooner than later. So as always, welcome to the show, guys.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. I have a good supply of shirts is all I'm going to say.
A good supply of shirts. Actually, I have the shirt, and I've worn the shirt under this jacket. It's funny. This week, we're actually going to be able to see the 23 Space Game merch that's dropping on Wednesday, and we can actually purchase it right away instead of having to wait until after the season. So that's exciting. So I've got my close to Canaveral blue pocket square as possible. So those of you that are podcast only, you're missing this great hair and this awesome podcast and the awesome UCF lapel pin game. But Josh has got that Canaveral blue as well. Trey is not wearing a red shirt this week, and we didn't have to tell him not to. So super excited about that. And then let's dig into the Rock Chalk walk of shame, for lack of a better term, right? So we'll talk about Kansas and what happened for the second time this week. But before that, as always, we have to get into the text talk. So for those of you that don't follow the show, text talk is basically what we're texting in the middle of the game. Sometimes it's great when we're doing well. Sometimes it's very disappointing. And sometimes it's a lot of 4-letter words that we can't utter on this show because this is a clean show. So let's go ahead and get started with Josh. Josh, we're going to get started with you. What do you have for us this week on your text talk?
So I have to start with something positive, right? Because there isn't a lot of that going on. So I'll start with something positive. There was a point in the time in the Fox broadcast where they had this great package where graphics package where they started from the bottom, and it kind of had everyone from I don't know if they had St. Leo, but they had everyone from like Culpeper and Bortles and Milton and even a little bit older than that. And it was a really nice recap of UCF's journey from 80s or even just like 96 to today. And that's the truth. I mean, it's something we might talk about a little bit today, but we're the new kid on the block by decades. So that was a really cool graphics package in the middle of what we just saw. I also had
hold on. What was the text? You can't say all that and not say the actual text. That's
the text. I love to start it at the bottom. Now we're here with that graphics package.
There you go. So if you want to talk about things, you got to start with the text.
Fair. So I also
this is why we don't start with you, Josh. See, so other people can show you the way, and that way we make sure we get it right.
That's what you know. What. Thank you, Mr. Teal Pocket Square. I'd love to have the same quarterback not injured for a full season. we've been talking about this a little bit here and there, but what was interesting is Roger's reply. I believe the immediate reply was that was 2017 with Milton. It's been a minute or few since we've actually had the same quarterback the entire year. It's been two coaches. So right, it's been a while. So is that the only reason things are going on that we see? Absolutely not. But consistency is a big important thing in all sports, and that just like it.
But here's the bad thing about that, right? So like it's not just that we're losing our starting quarterback, right? But it's also, and all teams in college football are dealing with this, right? It's a revolving door behind them. Nobody sits and waits. If a quarterback doesn't make it their freshman year, they don't wait around. They go into the portal and they try to get that NIL deal, right? So it's very difficult to build quality depth. And if you don't build quality depth and you're bringing somebody else in, right, then they have less time in your system to grow in it. And, if they do get put in, they're not going to be ready for the challenge. So, I think part of that is, yes, we've had some bad injury luck. But also part of it that makes it even tougher is the day and age where people can freely transfer and you have the NIL options as well that, people are just like, hey, if I can't make it here, I'm going to go make it in one of the other 132 teams.
Well, it's interesting because the team we just played is kind of a bit of the antithesis of some of that, because Jalen Daniels has been there for many years. Bean has been there for many years. And when one went down, the other one comes in and does pretty good, right? I mean, minus the Texas part, but...
Well, Bean was a little bit different, right? Because he bucked the system. He was the starter.
That's what I'm saying.
And then Daniels came in and beat him out for the job. And then last year... Daniels was the starter.
Yeah.
Then Bean had to come out because he was injured. And then he came back again. And even Bean is an interesting story because he was at UTSA and then came to Kansas.
Yeah. So it's just interesting. Well, they have two people who know the system and been in the system for a long time in separate, different, interesting ways. So, but we do not have that. And we'll see. Maybe we have our QB3 get some work in. Who knows?
And here's another point for that: the O-line for both Kansas and Kansas State were full of anywhere from 4-year to 6-year seniors, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people that have played a lot of snaps and a lot of football there, and they were beefy.
In the Big 12 too, and there's nothing against the American. Great teams came out of there. Many of them are leaving, but yeah, it's in that league. And so speaking of that league, the last thing I had, there's a couple of games I can't go to for work and other purposes this year. So one of the things was I'm glad that my West Virginia tickets sold before this game, because
dang, I was going to use that one.
Bro, they tanked. They're down to $70 now for the buy-in, and they like a week ago they were $135 a ticket for the lowest price.
I got more, but
that's what I said, for the lowest price.
Yeah.
Some people were getting $400 a ticket.
Yeah. So yeah, my Oklahoma State ticket's still available if anyone wants. Let me know. But
I just heard is I got free tickets. That's all I heard.
That sounds like fire pit money at this point.
Yeah. Yep. Well, the parking still might go. We'll see. But yeah, well, you know what? Well, we'll talk about it later. But anyway, yeah, that was we could talk about my basketball tickets that just sold this morning too, if you want to. But that might be another podcast.
All right. That is another podcast. Actually, it'll be this podcast. It'll just be later in the year. So we're trying to get, we're working with some surprise guests that will join us for basketball. Speaking of basketball, since we're not going to talk about basketball the rest of the show, and you brought it up, we signed our highest rated recruit ever in UCF history this past week. Borderline 5-star. And, second year in a row that we've done that. And he's 7'1", and he can move. So super excited about that. I have not had a lot of high hopes for our hoops Hoopin' Nights for next season, but it looks like we've actually got some pieces that we've brought in, so hopefully they stick. All right, Trey Neal, we're going to bring you in next. Trey, what are your text talk?
Well, Josh took mine, the one where he was talking about the West Virginia tickets. I thought that was funny.
Bro, we've got 7,500 texts.
Listen,
you weren't part of them. Like, you never texted because you were angry the whole time, but we had it going.
I always try to get the ones that make us feel good because it's the complete opposite of how I feel. So I was like, hey, Josh got 400 tickets. I said, I wonder what the tickets are, right after this game. And like you just said, they're selling for a little bit low. Again, you have Oklahoma State tickets available. You might want to get off of those sooner rather than later. But also I had Alan. He was like, at least we'll still be 500 after this game. I was like, you know what? That I needed that positivity in my life at that moment when I saw it. Because I was like, it could be, I took a step back. I was like, we could be 0-6. We've been through it, and it's a terrible spot, but we're 3-3. So those are my two positive tech talks probably of today. That would be my sole positivity of this show.
Oh boy. Trey's going to be yelling at clouds for sure. All right, Alan. Let's bring you into the fray. What have you got for us this week?
I think my text talk is going to be purely in images. It was Roger sharing just basically what probably all of Night Nation was feeling through that game. And it was, I think do we have a montage of images we can put up?
Yes, these are the images that I was using. I was injecting Trey, and then like literally at a point in the football game, I literally refused to text anymore. Mm-hmm. So I was just, and the guys will tell you, I was just doing like pictures of Trey and then also GIFs. Or GIFs, depending on how you pronounce it. But I say GIFs. So here, for those of you that are watching, are going to be able to see the images that I was using. So give me just a second here, and I'm going to bring them up.
Basically like crap, maybe some hope. Nope, no hope at all. No. That's pretty much the roller coaster.
Yeah. So on the first series where JRP was in, right? So we were moving the ball. We had this Trey, and for those of you, he's got a little smirky smirk going.
Optimism.
Yeah, got a little optimism, a little smirky smirk. The rest of us were on the right hand side. If you can see that, we're about where the rest of Night Nation was, and then we moved from that to, oh my God, what's going on? How did we not score on that? And he's hurt, right? And then you guys need to go back to the YouTube channel and actually watch, look at least, if you don't do anything else, look at this section because the facial expressions are amazing. Then going from that, we went to, all right, Trey was excited. We were thinking maybe we score. And then we went back to, oh my God, what's going on right now? It's not happening. It's done. It's done. We're officially done. So, so that was Trey's contribution to the thread because, as he says, when he's angry or upset, it just doesn't happen. So, all right. What else did you have, Alan? Anything else?
Nope. Those were the images that represented my thoughts on the game.
All right. Well, with that, I think that's all I'm going to contribute because, when we got to the half and we hadn't scored, and it was the first time we hadn't scored in a half in the first half since 2015, which all of us remember that year, Trey. It's all your fault. Since that year, it really kind of like shook me. It's like, is this really where we're at? Right. Yeah. And part of this, and I guess we can just go ahead and move into the Rock Chalk review, right? Or as I put on here, the Rock Chalked review, because they put an outline in chalk around our defense's bodies and just left it there. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I looked at that and I was just like, we went from, 2016, we had a little bit of excitement, with Mackenzie learning, right? We had like things like the Maryland game going where he's making amazing plays and then throwing pickoff returns for touchdowns, you know, pick sixes and whatever. And then 2017, I mean, amazing offense. You know, we always want the ball first because we're going to go down and score. You know what I mean? And then 2018, pretty much the same thing. And then 2019, we were doing okay. I mean, we had DG back there, right? We had DG back there, and he was throwing some pretty balls. He was also making some mistakes, but he was spinning the rock, and you could see that those passing plays were amazing. And then we went from that to 2020 COVID year, whatever. DG goes away. We got JRP, and we're here now. Now, obviously, that first half was a byproduct of the injury. If I firmly believe if Timmy had been there from the start, we would have scored in that first half. And that would have allowed our
half.
What's that?
Timmy played in the first half.
No, but I mean
first,
start. Yeah, I said start, right?
Okay.
Not play, but start. Because we went JRP gets hurt, and we found out later that his knee popped, and he kind of got scared about it. He was in a brace, so he was clearly hobbled. So again, what did we say last week? If his speed's going to be an issue, he did not look 85%. So I don't know what he looked like. You know, giving the coaches the benefit of the doubt during the week, if they felt like, you know, he was making plays or whatever, he did not have confidence in his knee. He went out. Next series, we had Timmy Tebow. I mean, not Timmy Tebow. Timmy T. Blow, let's say, on that one, because that series was just terrible. And then we came back, and JRP came back, and he looked slow. He couldn't move in the pocket, let alone try to run the ball. And then we came back, and Gus finally got the picture, like, all right, this is not going to happen. So let's go ahead and go with Timmy the rest of the way. But at that point, Kansas was already eating clock and running the ball down our throats, and we were playing from behind. So, there's not much we could do. It wasn't fair to Timmy. He was in a series, out of series, back in a series. He didn't have a chance to really get in the groove, and that resulted in 0 points in the first half. And not to mention that, when I look at this game, the biggest thing for me, yes, the defense was sucking wind, right? But that's not really what did it for me. What did it for me was the blocking that Kansas executed. If you watched, one of the things, Trey, we talked about either last week or a couple of weeks ago was that our defense was not reacting to shifts. They were reacting to shifts in the second half. So Kansas was moving the whole freaking line, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. And our guys were shifting, right? They were changing the play. So we saw progress from a schematic standpoint. We saw progress because they were moving. We had a lot of players out, but we saw progress. That being said, the blocking that Kansas was doing, if you go back and watch the game, the way that those plays were unfolding, pulling guards, tight ends blocking, they just I think the refs refused to call holds in the the Big 12, because I can tell you every offensive lineman who's ever played, and Trey, I'm sure you can tell people about this too, playing safety, you're going to have holding on every play.
Yep.
And these guys, I mean, I'll give it to them. I went back and actually looked to see Kansas's blocking technique and scheme. They were squared up for most of them.
Yep.
Most everybody was squared up, and they stayed body on body. George O'Leary throwback there for those of you that don't remember, body on body, Bob, right? They played, and again, this goes back from last week's episode. We were talking about playing sound, fundamental football, and these guys were playing fundamental football. They were blocking correctly. They were in the right place at the right time, and the plays developed more slowly and allowed them to get open. And they had their running back who was just being patient and then took his cut and then ran, right? And then they went more to a traditional style traditional style, but they could do whatever they wanted to do. Offensively, we could run through the A gap. That's what we do. But when you're so far behind in the first half, look what happens. We don't play our game, right? So our running backs, I think RJ Harvey had 7-8 yards of carry for this game. Mm-hmm. And in the second half, we played our game. And guess what? We put 22 points on the board and probably would have put more on the board. Had we played that way in the first half, right, and not played from behind, this would be a lot closer game. It was essentially a 7-point score, a 7-point lead for them. So I'm gonna step back from the mic and I'm gonna let you guys tell us what you think. So first up, I'm gonna go with Alan. Alan, what did you see in this game? What stood out to you?
I mean, to me, what stood out was just, I think the JRP coming out there, we thought that was going to be a lift. I even put on my page that was going to be like, he seems to be he's like one of the captains of the team, and I thought he was going to provide a morale boost. But as soon as you saw him hobbled after 3 plays, I think the air kind of just went out of the team in that sense. And then Timmy came in and looked a little frazzled, wasn't expecting to start, to play that quickly. And like you said, I mean, pretty much it went punt, punt, punt on our first 3 drives. And I think within those first 4 drives, there was maybe like 3 rushes. So we did not play our game. We were taken out of our game and, throwing a lot more passes than we typically do, especially early on in the game. We've, typically been around like 60% running or 65% running. That, that first half, we didn't show that. And to see them get, not even a single point. Yeah. It kind of brought me back to that 2015 season. It just felt so ineffective, but then the defense was just getting gashed, on the ground. And it felt like just nothing could go our way in that game. It just, when you asked, I think it was in the Kansas State game, did our D-line and our O-line, look like they were less talented, or maybe the opposing team is a little bit bigger? In this game, Kansas looked bigger to me. They felt bigger. They acted bigger. They just felt like they kind of manhandled us. I didn't feel like the D-line got any pressure on the quarterback. It felt like the play calling was off.
And let's say this about the D-line. The D-line is playing without Ricky Barber.
They are. Yeah.
D-line was also playing without Lee Hunter there for a while. Right.
Did he get injured in the game? I didn't notice that.
He did. Yeah. He went out during the game. We had Matthew Alexander, Curvin Shoot, and I don't remember the other guy that came in that rotated in. Obviously, this is good for John Walker, right? Because John Walker gets to play like those guys. As far as discipline and technique, when I went back and looked at it, they were some of the most. Them and Kansas State were some of the best, but Kansas, I think, was even better. Their offensive linemen, from fundamentals and technique, were pretty great, and that's what we were expecting from Lance Leopold, right? We were all expecting that. But that's good for someone like John Walker, who comes in and he's used to moving guys around by his size and his sheer talent. You don't get to do that in the Big 12. So I think that ultimately is going to help him later on, but it also shows that we need more, and we're really missing Ricky Barber. So go ahead, Alan. I'm sorry.
Well, it's interesting because, to me, that shows the lack of depth. Gus, one of the first things he said in the beginning of the season is that he felt we were Big 12 ready depth-wise. Clearly, that's not the case. They don't want to sub guys in, and when they're forced to because of injuries to like Barber and Hunter, like you said, clearly we're not as deep to hold up as we would if our starters are in. You see some of these Big 12 teams, they can rotate guys in effectively. I don't think we're doing that. We're barely using any of our transfers. When the second team comes in, it's just nowhere near as effective as the first team. And to me, this game just was like a microcosm for the whole season. A lot of the issues that have plagued us in this 3-game losing streak reared its ugly head again. We lost the turnover battle. We got killed in time of possession again. We had multiple penalties, 5 for 40 yards like we did in all of the games. We got gashed in the run D. So it was pretty, and then we got killed on third downs. They went 6 of 9 on third down. So like the same issues that have been bubbling up in every single loss so far, and even in some of the wins, happened again. So, you're not going to win in the Big 12 with these types of issues. So, I don't think there's a lot of positives from that. There may be a couple things that came out of it, but the game was discombobulated from the start. I think when JRP came in and then all of a sudden he was out, it just threw off the game plan. It threw off everything. And then all of a sudden we're down, 24-0, don't have a single point. And then Kansas can just kind of, all they have to do is run the ball in the second half, which they're already doing effectively in the first half. And then that one drive where we did score, I think in the third, we ate up like 8 minutes of clock. So that killed any chance of like a potential comeback. So it was just a discombobulated game.
So I'm going to ask you guys a question. So, I know that the goal, right, is to, when you're getting into big boy football, you want to limit the number of possessions that the opposing team gets, especially with a defense that's performing the way that we are, right? However, we have this dichotomy. I talked about this last week and the week before. Our hurry-up offense does really, really well. And you saw that in the second half. We were moving the ball at will. But my question to you is, do we transition away from understanding, hey, we're not going to play ball control. Yes, we still want to run the ball, but let's play a hurry-up offense and try to get the lead early and then try to slow it down? Or do we continue to try to do that from the get-go? And I see Trey shaking his head, but let's start with Alan. What do you think?
I think UCF plays a quick offense, and that's when we're most effective. It's something that's been working for us we clearly have the speed advantage in Florida here. Like we've seen it in all these Big 12 games where our speed clearly is great. And I think it's better than these Big 12 teams we've played so far. So I'd rather play fast and rely on that. And then, in the second half, slow it down and change up. Like in the Baylor game, obviously it would have been better if we could have changed it up and and held on to the ball longer. But what about like that touchdown drive? So I just looked in the third quarter, it was 17 plays and it took up 8 minutes of clock. If we're down by 31, then maybe that was just how that drive went, but I'd rather stick to what we do best, which is playing fast. And, if we're able to move the ball down the field at will, I would stick with that. And then, if the game, the flow of the game dictates us changing in the second half because we have a big lead we need to hold on to, then we saw that in Heupel's offense a lot of time where, we couldn't slow it down and we'd have a lead and then we'd go 3 and out and then the defense would suck and win. So I think it's a fine balance in my personal opinion.
All right. Josh, what do you think?
So part of me feels that the defense already can't hold at the moment. We're seeing that in action. So us scoring in a minute 20 isn't going to help them at all, period. So part of me, I feel like that's how we can score, like keep people off, keep people from rotating and swapping in, keep their defense a little bit tired, but it's going to tire out our defense too, as Trey is well knows from right. So I want to say yes, right? I want to say yes, but I think if we could finish fourth quarter drives, etc., I think going more O'Leary ball might be better. Shorten the game and try to get.
Aren't we doing that though? Hasn't that been our approach the whole freaking time? We have not been going speed all out. Like, no. And it goes back to like what we were talking about with K-State. In K-State, they were using that to their advantage. What were they doing? They were sitting there, and every time we subbed, right, they would run off the field very slowly, and they'd leave us with 10 seconds left on the clock.
And Kansas did some of that
and then we couldn't read it, right? So do we play O'Leary ball, or do we try something different, because that's the strength of our offense right now, and try to catch these guys off guard, not let them make adjustments and not let them think about it, and just go? And because I don't know.
Our athletes are our biggest advantage, though, in the Big 12. I feel like we have
say
to
that
use
again.
our athletes are our biggest advantage in the Big 12. We're not bigger than everyone else. So like, I feel like our athletes and our speed are the biggest advantage we have in the conference.
And what we haven't been able to do is we've been able to do it in spurts, just like we were able to do it in the second half, run it through the A gap.
Yeah.
And we can do it all over Kansas. And you can do that in RPO or, we can do that quickly. We don't need a triple halfback over the shoulder, roll it over my shoulder, pass it up, do a pirouette, and then pass the ball from like our fourth string wide receiver to somebody. Smash mouth football, man. This is if we were the number one running offense, and with Kansas, they could not stop us through the A gap, right? Pound the rock.
But maybe from last week. Too far behind. Yeah, exactly. From last week, that was probably the game plan.
From the start. No, it wasn't.
Look at the first drive. I know, Roger, you were trying to figure out how to get Fubo for free in a trial to watch.
By the way, let's talk about that for a second. I'm all excited. I've got my stuff ready. I've got cable. So I'm like, all right, cool. Putting it up there, looking at it, ready to go, excited. I got my dad here. And, it was on Fox and not FS1. And I was out of market for the game somehow. And I thought that was only NFL.
Yeah.
And I'm in Destin area. Like, how the heck am I out of market? Xfinity, please explain that to me. Right? That makes
no sense.
So then I had to scramble, and I missed like basically the first quarter of football. So anyway, I'm still upset.
But see, that's the thing. I think that was probably the game plan. You kind of saw some of that running, and then you have the wonderfulness that was that first half, and the indecision on the quarterback, and not sure if JRP is in or out, and it just I think as soon as the adrenaline and the wave of JRP's back, and I think we're going to have that magic that he can do, and he hobbles off, I think probably the team, the fans, everyone went like,
fudge nugget. No. Fudge nugget, because again, we are a clean show.
I know. I cleaned it.
I mean, you can use Farfadnugan, fudge nugget, whatever you want to do.
But I know I cleaned it up. But that's the thing. I think everyone had that wave and crest, and it was crestfallen, right? I think it just sucked the energy out of.
Oh, speaking of that, Josh, why is it that Kansas plays Zombie Nation more than we do? Every time we came out of the break, Zombie Nation was going. So that was one of my other text talk things.
It's not like we're
not the only one.
But that's our thing. That's our thing. I know that, but that's our thing. We made it our thing a long time ago.
Yeah. We're going to also start playing Inner Sandman as we come out of the stadium.
No, I don't care about that. All I'm going to say is, look, Terry Mohajir, if you want energy in the stadium, play that. No other team. We've made it our thing. We've adopted it as our thing. We were one of the early adopters. Let it be our thing.
Yeah.
Like, don't
I say the Baylor game, they played it. I was there. They played it a lot during the whole first half. Every touchdown they played it because I made sure to listen.
It's our thing. We bounce. We have a stadium that bounces. It's our thing, right? It's what all the announcers know about when they come to the bounce house. They show little cups of water bouncing on the stairs. They do all these things. That happens when we play Zombie Nation. Terry Mohajir. I know this is a big thing, and it's not a big thing at the same time. Yeah, I don't want to hear any 60s songs when I'm at a football game. Okay? Give me some DMX. Give me some, if you want it clean, play Zombie Nation. Yep. Do something. But don't give me the song that we only started using in basketball during Valentine's Day for the Kiss Cam.
Listen, you can make it really easy and just pick one Taylor Swift song and quarter that stadium is singing. I know, but
gosh,
it's going to happen.
Taylor, we're not Swifties in Night Nation, okay? Zombie Nation
would be surprised.
I'm sure I would be.
I'm saying if you wanted to substitute Frankie Valli for Taylor Swift, I think the fan base and the students would be fine.
All right, I'm gonna go right past the Swiftie and go right to the DMX or something.
Sure.
Something with energy, not. Oh my God! Party in the USA, for goodness sake, play that. Don't play Frankie Valli. Like, nobody cares.
Yeah,
come on, bro.
Well, it's funny they play Kendrick, but
Kendrick Lamar.
But they play it, but they just miss a few words. Is all I'm saying. Like it.
But listen.
I'm listening.
Can we get Louisville's DJ or something? I mean, can we bring him in there? I mean, yes, don't smoke, don't shoot, don't whatever, and they break all the rules. But their DJ's awesome. I mean, it's energy. I've been to games at Papa John's Stadium. I was at the game when we played Louisville. The place was popping. That's what the bounce house has always been. And I'm sorry. All right, let me shut up. We'll go back to the football game. It grinds my gears.
Thanks, Peter Griffin. But the reality is that Frankie Valli, defense that can stop the run. I take the defense that can stop the run. Right? These are not the issues we need to be worrying about as fans. Well, not like we can do anything about.
Listen. If we're not winning the games, at least make it entertaining.
That's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
You're not lying about that. I'll tell you that.
Fair. That's fair.
All right, so Josh, this is for me for this segment. For those of you that are watching, Terry Mohajir, this is for you.
Oh God.
Okay, that's what I think of that particular Frankie Valli song. Come on,
yeah.
Or at least play it when we're up. You know what I mean? Don't do it while we're behind. All right.
Listen, they are still trying to kind of shoehorn that Avicii Nights, which that works well too, but it's still it's gotten more play. There's some other stuff we do. I've been trying to be on the Metallica All Nightmare Long bandwagon for a long time. That song, first of all, has Nightmare in the lyrics, in the chorus, and it's a driving fast song. But
hey, The Nights That Never Die. I'd rather you play that than that's
VT. Yeah.
Come on. All right, Trey, save us here, man. Get angry. Say what you're gonna say. Do something.
Yeah, I want to hear your thoughts on the fast offense.
Yeah. Well, what are your thoughts on the fast offense versus you played in the fast offense? You were the defense for the fast offense. If they're not, we've been in position all season.
Yeah.
And I said this in the text talk for turnovers, right?
Yep.
We've had 6 or 7 different drops, like not drop, like number 3 drop, but drops of balls that were in our defenders' hands that they have literally dropped, which shows why they are not wide receivers and their defensive backs. However, we've had 6 or 7 of those, right? So if we can get a few of those turnovers and we can outpace our opponents offensively, what do you think, based on your 2017 years, that's what we did. We just came out of the door, and if we didn't have 21 points in the first quarter, it was like, oh my God, what's happening, right? So what do you think about switching to something like that?
First of all DBs don't have bad hands. I never dropped an interception. Never, ever.
Never? Oh, dude, you're going to make me go back to the tape.
Now we have to go.
You're going to make me go back to the tape.
You can go from 2014 to 2017. I prided myself on it. I was like, because as a DB, you don't know when you'd ever get those chances. Receivers, you know when you're going to get the ball, things like that. But as a DB, you have to maximize it. So that's one thing I can say. I never dropped a pick.
Well, I mean, and your years, they were focused on that, right?
Yeah,
it was always tip drill. It was always
yeah.
turnovers because they knew that the offense was going to be able to score. So if we got 1 or 2 more possessions than the other team, we were going to win that game. So I'm gonna step
leading
back.
leading into that, that's why I shook my head no, because I don't think it has to be complementary, in my opinion. You can go hyper speed, but it's gonna be a detriment to the defense no matter how you chop it up. Your defense is gonna be on the field a lot more, just time of possession wise. It's just the numbers. You're gonna be on the field more, you're gonna be on the field longer for more plays. So you're gonna get a more tired defense. And again, like you alluded to, Alan, I don't think we have the depth that we were preaching we had earlier. I think there is drop off in, our starters to our second string, and that's fine. It's just, again, it has to be complementary. Yeah, and it has to be complementary.
Where, Trey? Where do we have that drop off? Because we don't have it in the D line.
To me, it has to be the secondary, because I think there's guys that are
Do you think it's the secondary, or do you think it's the linebackers? Because Ryan Davis came in this game. He played 46 snaps. We've been,
our linebackers are horrible.
I mean, I think our linebackers from the beginning are already kind of an issue. So if they're already kind of an issue, then again, you're not going to have a better linebacker behind them unless he's just a doghouse, realistically. So they're already going to be a problem. I do think that again, it has to be complementary, and I don't think we make enough plays on the ball. We don't create enough turnovers to do it, and that's something that you have to kind of instill early. Like, that's when we were I'll go back to the 2017 year. They preached that the second Coach Frost got in here and Coach Shenanigans on defense. That's what we preached from the beginning.
But how did you get those opportunities, Trey? You got those opportunities because the other team was playing from behind. This team, Kansas, only threw 8 times during this game. 8 times.
The reason I say that is because, so I'm not even going to go 2017. 2017, you're 1,000% right. We were extremely hyper-focused. But even 2016, the year before, when the offense was good, but you had a freshman McKenzie who, like you said, he'd make a great play. Then he'd make a crazy play,
Yeah, for those of you that are not viewing this on YouTube, another reason to go back there, we've got Trey with a catch, clearly returning it. Do you remember that play, Trey?
Oh, yeah.
What was that play?
It happened in slow motion.
Yeah, well, it was the championship, right?
Championship, Memphis, yep.
Double overtime. So our championship, I think that was your signature play. I mean, you've had a lot of great plays, but I think that was your signature play. All right. Enough of the of what we should be and what we're not. All right, come on, go ahead, Trey. Keep going.
So I speak to 2016 because our offense wasn't what that 2017 year. We were good, but we weren't, we're scoring at will against anybody.
Consistent. It was not consistent.
So defensively, we still played with the mindset, we're going to go get the ball no matter what, which that also kind of was a detriment as well, because we're playing too aggressive, which is giving up points, but our offense can't necessarily match the other team. So that's where I'm saying, like, the reason I shake my head no, just as preface earlier, because, again, I think offensively we can do it. I just don't think our defense will sustain. And the problem that happens is
the defense isn't sustaining it now, and we're losing possessions and opportunities.
So the problem that happens is it puts too much pressure on the offense to where they're going to have to play to score every possession. Because if they don't, and we're not scoring on defense, then there's more pressure for them to score. And then you have the issues where Timmy McClain's not going to perform. We have a hobbled up JRP.
We're already doing it, though, Trey. That's the thing.
We're
already playing from behind.
We should do. I don't think that's what I think what we should do is we should go straight GOL football. We need like Alan, when we 17 plays, 8 minutes off the clock.
Yeah.
That's the only way I think we can beat some of these teams, because I think the blueprint.
You're saying because the defense is bad, that's why we do that. Okay.
Yes, because I think the blueprint's out. I think we're 6 games in. We're halfway through the season right now.
Yeah. Oh, the blueprint's been out for 3 weeks.
You can throw away those first 3 games of the season of how our defense look, how our offense look. That's not our offense. That's our offense versus teams we are far superior than talent-wise, skill-wise, position-wise, everywhere. Now that we're in the Big 12 playing equal talent, maybe, equal coaching, maybe superior coaching.
Trey, here's where I'll differ from you. I think those first 3 games were our offense. There were our offense with JRP when he'd been playing, he'd taken licks and he was not hobbled. And that was a
fast offense.
Well, it's not only a fast offense, but it's designed to set up and create multiple options for the defense to stop because you don't know who's going to have the ball, right?
So that I will agree. I agree that the offense is that. I think our defense that's not our defense.
In the beginning of the year, we were all saying that our offense looked 2017-esque. We said that on this podcast.
Yeah. I think even, I'm not going to lie, the offense running the football they're still top of the league in running the football. Like, I haven't seen anybody really.
Well, Timmy was passing it too. That's what
I'm saying. Like, I think our offense is very good. I'm not going to say it's not. Yeah. I think, again, game script kind of throws it off. I think a couple of bad mistakes do throw it off a little bit. But
coaching mistakes.
And that's what I was alluding to. I think our defense is that, like, our first 3 games defense, that's not our defense. That was, again, a defense where you're playing the Kent States of the world. You should dominate them, you know. Yeah. Those kind of games versus the defense you're playing Kansas State, you know, Kansas, Baylor, and Baylor's
that defense too. So let me ask you this: I'm gonna throw this back at you, right? We were talking about defense before, and one of the things you said that really resonated with me, at least, was defensively. The first few games we were scheming, right? We were moving, we were disguising blitzes, we were doing all those things, and then against K-State, you were like,
we stopped
doing it. So again, is that coaching or is that execution? 100%. If we're able to do it even against K-State or Boise, then to me that's coaching and preparation, is it not?
Yeah, 1,000%. And that's where, you know, we talked about it off air. I told you guys the biggest difference for me when, you know, playing in the AAC versus the Big Ten and even, again, the Big 12, it's the coaching and the trenches. And those, again, like you said earlier, Roger, it looks like Kansas, they had perfect blocks, their O-line all game, perfect blocks. They're driving us and they're outmanning us. And like even Allen said, it just looks more physical. That's the difference. And again, even the coaching. No knock to Kent States, no knock to Boise States and Villanova. The coaching gap is not necessarily what you know, it's how fast you adjust. That's just even the difference from college, low-level college to high-level college, from college to the pros. It's really just how fast coaches adjust. And we're adjusting too slow to our issues.
Are we adjusting?
Are we even adjusting? You know, and that's, I don't know the specifics. I can tell that the reason I know we're not doing it fast enough is because we can go out there, get beat, come back out, and we're getting beat on the same thing. We go out there, look at our eyes, because they're not, these teams, these last 3 games aren't running things differently. They see a weakness and they keep exploiting it. Just
isn't that personnel too then? Like we could say coaching, but I feel like there's something, we don't have all the guys that we need yet to really.
Oh, well, listen, but a coach's job.
It's a healthy blend of all of it. I will say that. But
coach's job,
you can know your personnel.
Yeah, exactly. You know your personnel and you adjust your scheme and what you're trying to accomplish based on the personnel that you have.
And that's the best coaches. You don't ever fit a square into a round hole. And if we have a bunch of guys that are squares, then make the defense got something to fit the squares. Don't just keep beating your head over trying to jam. Like, that's insane to me.
And think about the Power 5. Like, I think we also can't understate like the losses we've had. Like Tatum Bethune going to FSU, Jeremiah G going to Ole Miss.
Very
like,
good
we lost some
players.
Key guys to huge Power 5 schools. Miami, Ole Miss. I mean, all these guys that we lost. It's
for a reason.
It's affecting
because
us. Yeah, they're great players.
High-level football players. Now, and again, there's money, but they are high-level football players, you know, and it does.
Tatum Bethune's like FSU's leading tackler.
Yeah. He's a good football player. I mean, I said that.
He was a good football player from the very get-go for us.
Yeah. Big loss, that's what I'm saying.
That being said, when Randy Shannon left, those were his style of coaching is completely different. And those are his guys, right? And so then we also, the other thing that we're not talking about is that whole crop of recruits that we lost on defense in 2020.
What about T-Will's guys that he lost to?
T-Will, you know, whatever. T-Will is addition by subtraction.
Which guys 2020?
Oh, you
the
talking
guys
about
that got in trouble on
Like Collier.
Yeah, they were close to seeing. Most of them were close to the upperclassmen. We wouldn't have them now, anyways. So.
Yeah.
Well, a couple of them were sophomores. One of them was
2020. They would maybe if they're here for.
I don't think they'd be here because I played with some of them, like Eric Mitchell and AC.
Randy Charlton.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I think Charlton's still playing, isn't he?
No, he went. He's in the pros.
He was on the Dolphins in the preseason.
Yeah, he's on the Dolphins.
What's going on now?
As a free agent, or he got cut. Okay,
yeah.
So he was a
free agent. UDFA. Yeah.
But I mean, again, like it's a culmination of all of it. You can, of course, if coaches, if we don't have the players, don't run the defense. That's one issue. But to me, it's the problem that I have is that the guys are playing undisciplined. And again, this is my third week now talking about it. Kansas wasn't running anything that was just amazing, innovative football. They were running a physical brand of football. Same thing as Kansas State. They're not running anything that's like taking the country by storm of what they're doing. They're just saying, hey, you guys can't fit the run. We're going to keep running the football until you fit the run.
Well, let's say this about that. We played a 5-1 team in Kansas that looked good, right? The only people they lost to was
Texas,
and they got run out of the stadium, right? And then you had Kansas State, who were last year's champs and brought most of their folks back. Yeah. And they're what? Aren't they 5-1 or 4-2?
Yeah. I think they're 4-2. No, they lost this past weekend.
Okay,
to
so
Baylor.
We're playing the cream. To Baylor? Oh my God.
Yeah.
So again, not only did we spark Baylor, but we're going to spark them on their championship run for the conference championship run.
The Big 12 schedule, when we go over that, the losses that happened this weekend are going to be pretty fun to talk about.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Kansas State lost to Oklahoma State and Texas Tech beat Baylor, but Kansas State lost to Oklahoma State.
They lost to
OSU. Texas State beat Baylor big. I thought it was
they did.
But Howard played like trash this game. Howard just like completely turnovers, couldn't get anything done. It's like we went from
Oklahoma
Joe
State's
Montana
supposed to be the ones we win.
We went from like Joe Montana to who was that guy that went to Arizona? Ryan Leaf, right? We went from Joe Montana to Ryan Leaf week over week. Yeah, Pete DeNovo. Hey, Pete DeNovo's a nice guy. He's a good artist. He's a local guy, UCF supporter. We actually had him on Nightline all the time. Yeah, Bo Schneider, who was also a good guy, but just
Tyler Harris.
Good guy.
Joey.
They were all good guys. Like legitimately, like at that time, they were, they didn't pan out football wise, but they were all good guys. At least Pete DeNovo could give us a wildcat here and there. We would run him with the wildcat all the time, the wild DeNovo, and we had squirrel drawing.
That's so sad.
Well, but listen, if you got lemons, we got to have some positivity or laughter around you. Yeah. We're sitting literally. I feel like I'm yelling the entire podcast this week. It's just like.
But it is
fired up.
It is because, I do agree. These are again. We've said the Big 12. I think even in our predictions, if we go 6-6, I think
we're happy.
We would have been happy as a first year in the Big 12.
And I don't think we are where we are if JRP doesn't go down.
Yeah, agreed. But I agree in the sense that I don't think we have the problems offensively. I think these defensive problems haven't been fixed since.
Well, we had the problems offensively. Clearly, we fell apart against Baylor.
Yeah, I mean defensively, the same problems that we had week 1 were overshadowed just because we were way more talented than the other.
I agree.
That's the main issue. And now again, playing in the Big 12, these coaches, where I speak to the coaches, they see that we're struggling. I said that after we lost to Kansas State, the blueprint, we need to run the football because our linebackers aren't sound and our secondary doesn't want to tackle. So that's all teams are going to make us do. They're going to line up in big personnel.
You're putting up a 170-pound guy against a 240-pound running back. What do you think is going to happen?
That to me, why wouldn't you
personnel
do that?
Problem? Yeah.
That's a personnel problem, and because it's a brand of football that's not being played. Those 175-pound guys that can cover, that's great when you're playing a team that just throws.
Our linebackers are so small too.
Yeah,
well,
it's great for the spread offenses.
Football is a game of matchups.
Exactly.
What the offense is going to try to do is put you in a position where they've got a matchup that they can take advantage of, right? Yes. What do you not see? You do not see Brandon Adams, who's 6'2" and 215 pounds. They're not throwing the ball at him, and he's playing great this year.
Why would you? But Roger, why throw the ball when we cannot stop the run to save our life? There's no.
But even on the running plays, he's back there. And my point is they are picking the matchups they like, and the reason they like them is because we've got people that are like, what was it?
Jason Johnson's like 198 pounds as a linebacker. Like,
yeah, but he's the only, and he's
good. But I'm just saying, he's like, that just shows our.
But it's
size.
It's a style problem. That's what we're running into. Like, if we were to be playing, for example, if this defense could line up and play the Coach Heupel offenses that are just air raid, throw the ball all game with a little, and you spread everybody out. This is what this defense is lined up to do, because it's so much more of a space game. These teams we're playing, at least we've played so far, they're running power football. Now it looks different. It's not old school under center. They're in the shotgun, but they have 2 tight ends on the field. They're pulling guards to hit people. Like, that type of football, you have to have backers, guys that can go stuff the run. And you have to have safeties that can come up and fill in the extra. They have to be extra in the run game. Our guys are not that. That's where I say, like Alan says, it is
and the Big 12 has not been that. It's always been the air raid,
not
power football, and now it's transitioning.
But I think it kind of still is. It's just, why do it when you're playing us? There's no point.
Yeah, there's no point. Yeah.
I mean, look at it this way. Kansas State has not been an air raid.
Oh, no, yeah. Agreed.
Kansas, like old school.
Kansas under Leipold has not been.
Yeah, I think
has not been either.
Big 12 has been recent years has been.
But even Heupel's offense, you run a gap football, right? Yeah. And then you've got receivers that are spreading it out so that you can run the A gap, right? Yeah. These teams that we're playing are not doing that. They're playing complicated blocking schemes, right? And they're playing power football. That's what they're
supposed to.
I could be biased. I'm not saying it.
Running backs are 200. Both of the Kansas running backs are 220 pounds.
Yeah, so
that's what I mean. I mean, you're almost playing a tight end. A tight end is like 240 to 240.
Yeah, and their third string running back who also ran for 90 yards is 220 pounds also.
Yeah, so, and the thing is, like, I don't think that the schemes are super complex, because, again, they're literally just
I would disagree with that. Look at what
the reason it looks extremely complex is because our linebackers are playing so they're not playing sound, so the gaps are wide open. They're running a lot of counter. They're running a lot of power. That's really all the power they're running. And in split zone. It's really the same stuff we run it with Gus. It's just, again,
more motion. They're doing more motion up front. They're doing more motion up front. They're pulling more guards. They're pulling, they're doing twists, they're doing all of that stuff that we don't do. And our motion is more in the backfield, where we've got folks coming from the opposite side of the field running in the back, and then of the 3 people that are in the back, who's gonna have the ball, right? Mm-hmm. Are you gonna go with a jet sweep, or are you gonna go with whatever, right? What they're doing is they're shifting the line. And
what do you mean?
Well, I mean, look at Kansas. They pulled 3 linemen, and they would move them left or right, or they would adjust the tight end coming in at the same time that they were doing that, and snap the ball.
But that's the thing. If our linebacker, like, when you're playing defense, especially in the box, which is linebackers, D-line, your eyes, we call it a triangle. So you're looking through the guards to the running back. If you can just learn and train yourself to be able to see through like that, when you see guys pulling, you're naturally going to flow that way, because it's rare that you're going to pull guards not the opposite way of the play. You're only pulling to get extra hats, extra bodies, because it messes up the count in the blocking scheme. That's what gaps.
Yeah, exactly.
So the problem with our backers is they'll see the guard pull, but they're staying in this gap, and they're in the same gap as the linebackers. So now when you have 2 extra guys going right, you have the linebacker not going to that right, they're counting and blocking everybody up. That's why you have seen all game number 10, Quandrick Bullock. You see Nakai Martinez. You see number 8. They're having to make a lot of tackles because our linebackers aren't getting over there. And by the time those guys are getting the tackle, the 220-pound running back are getting full head of steam. And again, that's just a law of physics matchup. You're not winning that battle. Like, and that's where
I'll say this. I'll say this too. This game, I felt like we were in position defensively to make the plays. We just didn't have the personnel to do it. If you look and actually watch the scheme and what people are doing, they're in position to make the play. They're just not doing it. And they're tackling. They're either tackling high on the shoulders or they're shoestring tackling people.
Yeah, and that again, that doesn't work when you're going against a 220-pound back. That's running physical either. Like, you have to either, we call it gator tackle, where you tackle the back of their legs and roll like an alligator when they grab onto their, their prey, they roll. That's what it's literally what we tackle.
All right. So I'm joining. Josh is trying to be quiet. I'm joining Trey at yelling. You and I are having like a conversation. I'm sorry, guys. Like,
it's okay.
We're having a defensive conversation here, and this is almost like Trey's yelling at Cloud segment. So I went ahead and just changed the banner to that because we're both yelling. Like, I feel sorry for whoever's got their volume up in their car or in their earbuds or their AirPods while they're running. Yeah, turn it down a little bit for this segment. I'm sorry it took us this long to get there because I've been hyped this whole segment, and so has Trey. So we're both yelling. All right, let's pivot. Pivot. All right. We've lost the last 3 games. Are we going winless in the Big 12?
Are you asking?
I'm asking you guys. I'm asking all of you.
I'm going to be honest. It wouldn't. I don't think we are, but if we did, I wouldn't be surprised.
All right, Josh Lazar, what do you think?
No, we're not going winless. Now, are we going to get to 500? Probably also no.
Yeah.
Right. So not winless, but do we beat a team that didn't come from the American Conference this year?
Maybe not. That's the better question.
I think that's the better question, and I'm still going to say, do we beat? I'm going to say yes, even though my heart and my eyes don't believe it. But I'm going to say yes. I hope I am right. We're at 102. I'm going to put that in my notes. I think we're going to beat.
You better make a short out of that.
Yeah. Oh, that's why do you? I already have. I already have on shorts. I have the Trey's Picks on shorts. I have Roger saying throwing pretty balls on the shorts. We got stuff going on. But yes, I think.
Hold on, I haven't even seen that clip.
It just happened in the segment.
No, I heard it. I caught it, Josh. I caught it.
Yeah. I got it too. But truthfully, I think we beat a team from the Hateful Eight, maybe +2. Right? I think we beat one.
All right. What do you think, Alan?
I don't think we're gonna go winless. Houston's been in their 2 conference game have been blown out by double digits.
Hold on, do they count?
Well, I'm just saying, if we're talking about beating a conference opponent, yes. Are we going to beat one of the legacy members? I still believe that we can, yes, because two of the quote unquote, I'll just say 2 of the ones that we were favored. I don't know if we'll be favored anymore, but West Virginia and Oklahoma State.
I don't know. ESPN seems to think we should win every freaking
apparently,
game. And then we end up like
they might be
crashing and burning.
I think the Baylor game showed that we can. Like, we had a 4-touchdown lead on a legacy team. We can. I don't know if that zapped all the conference for us this season. I know there's a lot of, in sports, momentum plays a factor, and we saw in 2015 how it just started piling up. I still want to say that I believe in our talent enough. I still think on paper this is one of the more talented teams we've had in recent memory. Obviously outside of the Trey's teams, but yes, I do think we're going to get one AAC team and one legacy team. I just can't see us Gus Malzahn's never lost this. I was going to save this for the stats, but this is Gus Malzahn's only 3-game losing streak of his entire career as a head coach. I can't see him losing 9 straight games or whatever the case may be. So no, I think we're going to win at least 1 or 2.
All right, there you go, guys. The guys are optimistic that we're going to beat a traditional Big 12 team.
Just one, though.
and well, hopefully it's West Virginia. They've been off to a great start, but we've got them at home for homecoming. And as long as Terry Mohajir does not play Frankie Valli the entire game, I think we'll be okay.
Is he over the music selection?
Bro,
that's
he's the AD. He does what he wants. He's like, okay. I talked about this.
I didn't know.
I talked about this in a previous. I've talked about this in a previous. He's throwing that Frankie Valli in there. He's a big fan, but now that it's become a thing, he's like doubling down. So you've got the Frankie Valli thing. I'm still not happy that we're not going crazy with their uniforms. I know that we didn't get a great Nike deal this time around, and we were looking at Adidas. And I'm not sure we would have been better off with Adidas after looking at Miami's uniforms. But, at the end of the day, like, I just feel like, and I know we're going completely off topic here and off of your show notes, Alan, but I just feel like we've lost the mojo.
Yeah.
We've like Terry does not get it. And I'm just going to say that. He's done a great job with the 90 million. He's done a great job listening to the surveys that we put and said, put lights up that like with the light show. But again, that's, hit or miss as far as the experience has actually been. Dude, you're a good fundraiser, but lay your hands off of the music selection. That is the fabric of UCF football. That's what everybody's grown up. And now that we had that branding jump in 2017, 2018, 2019, that's who we are. Yep. Just let it happen. That's why we've propelled so far forward. Night mode's great. Light mode's great. Cool. You put your stamp on there. Let everything else just happen. Just let it happen, Terry. Just let it happen. All right. I'm going to get off of that. Let's see. What do you guys think about playing JRP still injured? I mean, do you think that was the right move?
No.
I get that he could have looked good in practice, but there's got to be something that you like. I don't know if he was not playing with the knee brace in practice or whatever, but that was a horrible decision. If he was at 70 or 60%, why rush him back, especially when you have a bye week coming back in a huge game when you return after the bye week? That was, and the fact it's not like Timmy's been a total disaster. He's been okay. Like to sit there and force JRP, especially a guy that we know is injury prone, that was injured last year.
Did we force him, or just like last week we said, hey, JRP, I want to play football. I'm going to be JRP, blah, blah, blah.
The kid's got heart. He's going to, if they give a choice to him, he's going to play.
The way you guys are explaining how he is, he's going to say that no matter what. He probably said that in the Boise game he wanted to keep playing. Like,
yeah, you don't play him.
Like, yeah, and like you said, like, again, Alan, you're cooking right now. but like it makes zero sense to me. They're like, just being in it, there's no way JRP looked better than what he looked like in practice than he did on the game.
No.
One, you're running on adrenaline in the game. So he would have he should look better in the game than he does in practice as far as the way he moves. The fact that he came out there hobbled, didn't really want to run, means he was probably hurt. I don't know what he took before the game to just suit up and do it.
Tore it all.
Yeah, there's no way.
Oh, yeah, bro.
I think they made their mind up. Like Josh was saying that JRP was warming up when we played. They probably made their mind up after that game. Like, listen, we're not going 3-3. We have to beat Kansas State. We got to get something cooking on offense right now. Yeah. We got to put them back in. I think they made that, and like you said, if they had some secret meetings of the minds or whatever, I don't know what was going on.
Yeah.
But
expedite how fast he can get back in. We need to expedite how fast he can get back in to be able to play. And I think that's at a detriment of the player. Like, I think knowing JRP, like we're saying, he's not going to say, nah, just give me, let me go into the bye week. he's a gamer. He wants to play. He wants to. If he thinks he can help his team win, he's going to do it. And I think that's terrible management from the coach. I think
terrible.
I've said, I hate saying things like that, but even, the last time I said I had an issue with like player management was, I think, that 2019 year when we had our starters in with Brandon Moore. We had our starters in up 40 points for no reason in the first game of the season, and he ends up getting hurt. Like, I think those kind of things will change the trajectory of your season. I think those 100%. Kind of things can ruin, like you said, the morale of the season, the mojo of the season, because the second it happens, you're like, why is he even in the game? We have 2 elite corners we're bringing back. We have elite safeties we're bringing back. Why? We're up 40 points. Why do it? Same thing with JRP. He's at probably 60% at best.
At best. Yeah.
At best. Timmy hasn't looked bad. Why are we bringing him back a week before a bye week when we can get him back fresh at Oklahoma for, that would have been what, 4 or 5 weeks where he comes back? I think, seriously. It would have been what, 4 weeks, 5 weeks that he'd been rested to come back for Oklahoma, which, as you see, is a big game, and I think, like you said, I think that was
they jeopardize that now too. They jeopardize him.
But here's the thing. Last week you guys said if he's at 85%.
But he didn't look at 85%.
But he's at 60%.
According to Gus, he was 90%.
You know what I knew I knew an issue was immediately. Remember, he got hit on the 3rd play. The first 2 snaps, he got completions. But when he moved back, you could tell how gingerly he was moving. He hadn't even been touched yet. Exactly. So like there was no way that was 80% JRP should still be able to run it decently. Even when he got hobbled in the Tulane game last year, he still took it to the house. Like,
exactly.
I just no, that was a horrible decision.
He's not, like Alan said, we've seen a hobble JRP. A hobble JRP almost.
That's an injured JRP. Yeah, right there.
A hobble JRP was still playing well in the conference title game versus a great Tulane team. This JRP couldn't move. You could say in his head, he's like, I do not want to get hurt. Like you said, he was being ginger with his leg. And then the one time he had to his athleticism and his brain just took over and just like, I got to roll out to make this play. He did it, and he comes up. I thought I heard a pop. Well, if you got scared, pop, why'd you come back in the game? And then
and they brought him back after that, which is the craziest thing.
So to me, it's terrible mismanagement, and that kind of thing, like you said, Roger, it throws the mojo off the rest of the game. The offense didn't score a point because it's like, Timmy, okay, you're going in. We heard a JRP pop. He's like, okay, I didn't think I was playing this early. He goes in, boom. Now, okay, JRP, you're going right back. You're going in. And then, oh, no, never mind, JRP, you're not really 100% like we thought. And it's like, you didn't see it all week.
So for those of you that are watching at home on YouTube, I've got a picture of JRP up here in his cast.
That's a KZ brace right there.
Yeah, like legit, if you look like the Bionic Man, like if you look at what's the robotics thing that we have at UCF with the where we were making like arms for people and
Limitless Solutions.
Yeah, Limitless. That looks like a Limitless Solutions picture. If your starting quarterback looks like he's got a Limitless Solution,
no play.
Like don't play him.
Every offensive lineman is fine though. No.
Well, but they don't have a full leg thing.
I know.
They just have
an offensive lineman don't have to run 4 340s to be successful at quarterback.
That's it.
Right? They're planting, they're stepping back, or then they're trying to force forward. JRP has to move. You can't do that in a brace. If you only got to move 2 steps back, that's one thing. Even if you got to move forward because you're trying to move the line into the second level, that's still 3 or 4 steps.
Yeah.
That's not running 30 yards across the field left to right before
lateral movements, and it's explosive. JRP is, like I said,
or try to throw off of it.
Explosive, exactly. Like all of his movements are explosive. You have to be, like you said, to even throw. You have to drive that right foot, which is what it looks like he injured, into the ground and throw and twist all of that.
Yep.
All right.
Terrible mismanagement.
All right. So what do we think? I'm going to ask this question. Do you guys ride with Addison Williams knowing that he's learning on the job? Do you think he's good enough to do that? Or do you start thinking about hot seat questions? because it's going to take him 2 or 3 years to get. Look, guys, we brought him up, right?
He's young.
He's young, and I don't blame him for that. That's a Gus coaching decision, and he's known for that, right?
Yep.
But he doesn't have anybody behind him. Now, I'll say this: he's a great recruiter, along with the rest of the recruiting staff. Do you keep him? Do you keep him in that position, or do you go start looking for other, more experienced coaches in the offseason after your $4 million raise was announced after the loss, by the way?
Personally, I think you have to keep him because it's more than just the season. Again, we're trying to build a top 25 program. Once you take that leap and be like, hey, I'm promoting this young guy, even though, I think we're ready to compete early. If you truly felt that, then you go get an older guy, maybe not even to be the DC, but an older guy to come in and mentor a little bit, teach them, behind, hey, this is what you have to do as I know you're a young coach. Here is where I can help you. Those are the kind of things you'd have to do to kind of set them up. But just promoting them and be like, hey, you have run the defense, you're going to have these growing pains. Now, do I think these growing pains will be to that extent? I did not, because I thought we were a lot more talented. Maybe it is a talent problem, who knows? But I don't think you can do it because not only is it bad for this program, especially like you said, as recruiting, because guys, they have ties to coaches. As sad as it seems, that's how guys are. So if you're to can him and go get somebody else, you could lose guys that he's built a relationship in the locker room, recruit, whatever. And then why would you want to come back, with let's just be honest, if T. Will's having issues supposedly, with Gus and things like that. Now you fire another head defense coordinator a year because he's having issues. I'm not going to want to – if I'm a DC, I'm not coming to UCF unless you sign a contract saying you have no say in the defense, which he's never going to do. That wouldn't even – so who would want to come get that job? It's just going to be younger guys that are trying to work their way up, so you're going to have the same problem. So I don't think you should, just because, again, the things I mentioned. And, again, you got to let it, as bad as it is right now, it can only get better, hopefully. And you have to let him grow, on the job. Because, again, he's a young coach and he's a young defensive coordinator. He's got to learn, as the guns are going, the bullets are flying. That's how he's going to have to learn.
Yeah, I think we as a fan base might have had a false sense of expectation, right? Because we have the recruiting's going great. John Walker comes, and then a lot of others are coming, and more are going to come afterwards. And truthfully, I don't think what's going on right now is going to deter a bunch of people from not coming in. It's like, hey, look at John Walker. He's that good, and he's starting that quickly.
Agreed.
I can do it too. So I just think as a fan base, we had JRP coming back. We had a lot of like a pretty good defensive line. Maybe
skill guys on offense.
Some decent guys on offense. We lost people, but not like everyone. These aren't like, we don't have 6-year super seniors everywhere, but we have some. And we thought maybe we pull out a couple of stops. Maybe we do this typical 8-4, 9-4, something around there, perhaps, and take some really hard knocks. Well, I just don't think that we saw some of this stuff coming. At the beginning of the season, the defense isn't stopping anyone was not something I thought I would be saying.
Agreed.
But they haven't in Big 12 play, right? So, no, they have for 3 quarters against Baylor, but still, right. So it just seems like it wasn't what we all expected as fans, or kind of not what we heard. Everyone's going to say we're a championship caliber team, and this, you got it. You need some puffery there. But I think everyone thought this was like 7-5, 8-4, somewhere around there. But that, as Trey is alluding to, we got to see how good that locker room is going to be, because it's going to be up to the captains. It's going to be up to the players. I don't know what else is. How much coaching, unless they completely change things in a week and a half, 2 weeks, and just change a scheme. I don't know what else can happen. The people are going to have to man up. The leaders are going to have to lead, and they're going to have to fight. Otherwise, it might have feelings of old seasons again.
All right, so I'm doing Photoshop on the fly for our next.
Our
next. Well, it's not Photoshop really; it's working in slides.
Okay.
But for our next topic, while we're on air, I'm doing this. So I went from never doing any imagery to now doing this. So I'm going to do this. So don't laugh too hard. But the next topic I kind of want to talk about is
dun dun dun. Oh, God.
UCF special teams were historically bad in this game. Punt return should have been another kick return. When we were talking about doing a what do you call it, squib kick or something like that, that went terribly wrong. I'm a little worried about the special teams. I keep seeing us, our runners and our gunners are getting down there quickly, but they're overrunning our guys. I mean, the one on the punt return, our guy was right there. He got juked because the guy on his left was already past the returner by the time he got the punt, instead of sealing off the left edge and playing him to the boundary. So what do you guys think about that?
Alan?
Our special teams, it was historically bad. I mean, nearly 2 touchdowns. Special teams feels like it's been a little bit of an issue for a couple of years now. I don't remember, was it Toth or one of the coaches that I remember everyone was calling to get fired for a long time. Obviously, I think our special teams from a kicking perspective, in terms of like our place kicker and our holder and our punter, are solid right now. But overall, special teams has been a mess for the last few years. So, I mean, I feel like that's coaching too, though. I mean, are you really going to, like, you know what I mean? So I don't know. One thing I could say is, I was going to say this in the defensive portion, but some of these defensive guys may end up playing special teams. 8 out of our last 12 top recruits from the 2024 class upcoming and last year are all defense. So we have reinforcements, I think, coming in. I just think look at how many defensive problems we've had in the last.
So hold on. We're talking about recruits. Do you think these results, Baylor, Kansas, and I'm going to direct this at you, Trey. If you're a recruit, and don't think about the GOL years when you were coming in and building something, but in today's game, do you think that makes a difference for those recruits and whether they come here or not?
I don't think it matters as much as it used to. I think just from talking to a lot of people from, the recruiting guy in my high school, a lot of these kids now are more focused on lifestyle. That goes into, how are you treating me at practice? How are you, do we get this at practice? How do we do this? How do you treat me outside of practice? What's my NIL deal? Because now at this point, 20 years ago, where you went mattered, because even to the point, do you want to be able to play on TV, on national TV, or you just can't even play on TV?
Well, you can play on national TV. You can get embarrassed on Fox, and next week or 2 weeks from now,
I'm saying, like 20
ABC.
years ago, that wasn't the case.
No, that's true.
So guys would want to go to, the Alabamas of the world, because, they're going to play on Saturdays prime time. The Notre Dames, the Ohio, those the traditional blue bloods. That's where you want to do. Now, I mean, with the exception of Roger this past Saturday not being able to see the first drive, everybody can watch the game. You can watch any team you want, from even some FCS level teams to, everywhere. Even if it's ESPN.
JUCO.
Yeah, you have a ability to play on national TV. So I think the kids are different. So now they worry more about, NIL deals, stuff like that. So you can win. And we've lost 3 games. Now, if we go and lose 6 more, that changes. I think that changes things, because we weren't expected to be 3-9. I think the realistic expectations were 6 to 8 games with maybe an upset, maybe a loss that we shouldn't have lost. I think that's the realistic expectations. So I think we're still trajectory that way wise. And I think that doesn't affect the recruits. I think the recruits care,
So it doesn't matter that UCF is dead last in the Big 12 right now.
No, I wouldn't say it doesn't matter. I just think it's not as important as right now. It's not that bad of it.
All right, so
I don't think it matters.
I think Josh, 6 games, if we're 3-9, then it could possibly be an issue.
Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, I just I really agree with Trey here. I think if we're anywhere within reason, like, okay, it looks competitive, I think it really matters what happens in the second half of the season, because yes, I was watching an Akron game on a really crappy internet feed when we were in the MAC at a friend's barbecue on his computer.
We were talking about that. How many times? Okay, so now I'm going to show my age as well as my receding hairline if you're watching on YouTube. I remember going to Wackadoos and watching it on TV because that was the only place that had a stream. And by the way, their chicken sandwich was bomb, and so were their fries. Yeah. Many times I was there eating that. That being said, it's sad that RIP for real. So many great places. It's funny, as an aside, when I went back to UCF for my master's degree. The final year that they were open, I think, as I graduated 2014. With my master's, my final, our instructor took us to Wackadoos and bought us all rounds of beers at Wackadoos. That was my last memory at Wackadoos. So RIP, I miss that place. The chicken sandwiches. I can't tell you how many times I went and got fries and studied in the student union.
And I went every Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Well, you guys didn't have fueling stations and stuff back then. Y'all were eating at Nitros. So,
but maybe we do a show on Wackadoos, because that was I had some wonderful, not wonderful memories there too. But let's talk about that part of it, right? It's all going back to like what's going to happen in the future, and I think these games mean a lot. That's why when we were talking about this pre-show, one of our segments should be, find 3 wins, right? Because we forget the.
All right, who's your 3 wins, Josh? Find 3 wins.
Find 3 wins.
And I'm going to put you on center stage, so you're really feeling the heat because you brought this up.
Sure. Find 3 wins. There's a reason I had a pause there.
We're making you the grilled chicken sandwich of the show this time.
Yeah, it's all good. So I think Houston's a win. I do think Houston is going to be a win. They just, who knows? I don't know how long Holgrenson will be there, but I think that's a win, right?
Longer than his hairline lasted. Okay, let's keep going.
So I think that's a win. I think Oklahoma's. I can't do that.
I was going to say, oh my gosh.
No.
Hey, hold on now. I am actually hyped up for Oklahoma.
I am.
I think we get in Dylan's head.
I think
in Dylan's head. I really do.
Okay.
They're pretty good under pressure against Texas last week.
This is next. Listen. That for next week's
one game.
So I'm thinking Houston and one of the last 5. So I actually think Houston is a win. I think no. I think Oklahoma State can be a win.
All right, that's 3.
I think our 3 home games. We have to win our 3 home games. I don't think we're winning at Cincinnati. I don't think we're winning at Texas Tech, and maybe Texas Tech, because they've been
96% at home since since we had that season that Trey was there.
Yeah. But I think we need to win our home games. And honestly, Kent and Villanova, whatever. Baylor's we
should have won Baylor.
Yes, I don't think that's going to happen again.
All right, Josh, hold on.
Home games.
Because we're getting to 1 hour and 28, so I want to move. We're still yelling at clouds with Trey. So, Alan, what do you think?
On what games you win or what?
The 3 games.
Find 3 games.
I think we beat Houston. I think we beat. I'm feeling. I want to say West Virginia. I just feel like homecoming. We usually always win on homecoming. I think we're going to be fired up for the game. I think Houston, West Virginia, and Cincinnati. That's what I think. I don't think we beat Texas Tech. I don't think we beat Oklahoma, obviously. And I don't know. I have this weird feeling Oklahoma State's going to beat us, even though they don't look that good. They just feel like a team that's weird. They just win random game. They've always done this. I remember a year they beat Oklahoma and we're
but that was Gus too. I mean, come on.
What?
Winning random games.
That's true. That is very Gus. So, well, that's why those are my 3 random games. Those are 3 Gus random wins right there.
All right. The random games of the week. All right. Trey, what do you think?
I think we beat Houston. That's the only game that I think we can.
All right. Wow, Trey. Wow. Okay, yeah. I'm going to take you off the screen.
Not wrong.
You're gonna depress Night Nation.
The only reason I say that again is because I've seen nothing to show that we can stop the run, and that's what teams are going to do. All of these teams I don't think Houston. I don't know what's going on in their program anyway. But I think
all the Holgerson experience. That's what's going on with them.
I think all of these other teams are competent enough to say these guys literally refuse to tackle. They refuse to fit the run. Why do anything difficult but make them do it? And then if they do it, then we'll change it up. If
all right.
Not,
so 170 pounds versus 220. I'm not mad at them for not wanting to tackle.
Yeah.
That being said, because I've been on that end of that conversation. Although when I played, I was 190 pounds. You can't tell by this frame anymore, right? But I had 35 pounds more of muscle on me than I do right now. So I wasn't afraid at 5'11" to go tackle.
That's the thing, Roger. I think it's a mentality. I've seen Kyle Gibson. Kyle Gibson, great safety to play the UCF.
Oh, bro.
Yeah, I'm not even kidding you. He was probably 170 pounds soaking wet.
What was your playing weight?
When I played? Like 210, 215.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought it was like 215.
We had some big boys. But Kyle Gibson was the outlier. He was 170, 75 pounds soaking wet. Probably the hardest hitter on our team. Why? Because he didn't care that he was 175 pounds. He wanted to knock your face off. That's how he played. I truthfully do not see anybody on our defense that plays that they want to knock somebody's face off. That's a mentality kind of thing.
Amen.
So yeah, at that point, yeah, if it's going to be physics to that. I've seen Kyle Gibson hit. There's a running back from Houston, 0-12 year. Kenneth Farrow. You can look it up. He was a great running back, 225, 230, ran hard. He ran over a couple of our guys. One of those plays, Kyle knocked him out cold. Boom. Concussion. Ball fumbled everything. And we're like, KG, you're 160, 170. How did you do that? He's like, I don't care who's in front of me. I'm going to try to kill them every time.
100%. It's a mentality. It's 100%.
And I don't see that with our guys. And until I see that, we're going to lose that matchup every time until I see those guys just.
All right. So Trey thinks we have 1 win on it. He couldn't even find 3. So I'm going to say for my answer on this, I think we have 5 wins potentially.
5 more wins?
5 left?
I think we have 5 wins potentially.
Wow.
And here's, and I say potentially, so that's my asterisk. I'm always on that asterisk. It's not optimism. If we run the ball like we should have run against Kansas, our running game has been top in the country. We average 7 or 8 yards per carry against anybody.
Agreed.
Legitimately against anybody. As long as we're not dancing around, right? And we're playing our strength, which is A gap. If we run through the A gap, which we can do effectively, and Gus knows how to run the ball. That's one thing he knows how to do.
That. Agreed.
He 100% can do that, and we're leading the country. If we stick to that game, okay, I feel like we can beat Texas Tech. They're not anything special. I think we can beat OSU. They're not anything special to me. They're confused. They lost a bunch of their team. Yes, they've had to recalibrate. Yes, Mike Gundy, as crazy as he is, which, by the way, a lot of his takes, if you watch his interviews, are not bad takes, right? But he's very, very good with disguising his offense. He's going to have a lot of motion. It's going to be well game planned. He's going to be another good coach. However, we could win that game. I think Houston, we win. I think Cincinnati, we can win. I don't have a lot of confidence in their quarterback at all.
So you're saying Oklahoma is the only potential loss, or that's the only one you're saying that is definitely a loss?
I just said a few minutes ago that I didn't think that was necessarily even a loss. If we score early, we get in DG's head. So it's not me like with hopium here. There's a path to win every single one of those games.
I don't see it.
Which team shows up and how Gus manages that, I'm discounting the defense at this point.
And you have to. I'm telling you.
No, I'm serious. I'm
That's the only
discounting
way.
the defense.
Because I'm not even kidding, Roger. I'm 1,000% with you with our offense. I think if we can run the football, I don't know too many teams in the Big 12 that can really stop us in that, because I haven't seen anybody even get remotely close to doing that. The only people that stop us is ourselves. However, why, if I'm Oklahoma, what would I be fearful about of our defense? I want you to tell me.
Nothing.
Well, here's the thing about Oklahoma. They pass the ball 3/4 of the time. They're not a run-first offense.
But they're going to start running it.
But
we'll keep this for next week, right?
Okay,
because this is for next week of Oklahoma. But my point is we do have Brandon Adams. Corey Thornton has been playing better. We've had 6 or 7 dropped interceptions. If we can cover, right, and this is going to be speed on speed, and I haven't looked at the wide receivers for Oklahoma yet enough to know what kind of speed they have. If we have speed on speed, this season we've been playing on the ball. We have plenty of PBUs. Right?
Our corners can run and cover 1,000.
That's my point. So if you're a air it out kind of offense, I see that we can get after them because their running is not their strength. So we play ball control, limit DG's opportunities, right? Or get in his head early. It's a mental game with DG. If we get in his head early, I could see us winning that game. There's a path to winning every single one of these games. The question is,
I do agree with that. I don't like when I said my one win.
Just discount the defense. Just discount them.
Yeah. Well, if we discount the defense, I think offensively we can compete with everybody the rest of the schedule.
And Alan's laughing at me right now, by the way. So for those of you that are not watching on YouTube, Alan is literally laughing at me right now. I'm sorry if we get our S together from the get-go offensively, which we can do. I've seen us move the ball. I think we can compete because I think the only thing that Oklahoma has is they have receivers and they can air it out. And I think we can disrupt that.
They just beat Texas. I mean, they're pretty good.
They beat Texas. I agree with you. But my point is they had to come from behind to do that. And Dylan had to pull something out of his yin-yang that he hasn't done while he was at UCF
Never
to
did
win that
UCF.
game.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, look at that last play, that last touchdown. Pocket was collapsing. He was running off to the right. He got it off at the last.
They also bailed him out with a pass interference too.
Yeah, well, yeah, but that's my point. We can rattle Dylan Gabriel just like Timmy can be rattled.
Yeah,
we can rattle him, and I feel like
or he's going to wrap the score on us.
Our corners,
that's one or the other.
Well, he doesn't do mid-range. We talked about it ad nauseum on the previous podcast.
He throws a deep ball. He does.
He throws. He's the true rainbow warrior because he throws those rainbow passes like 70, 80 yards. If we can stop that, beautiful passes, right? But if we can stop that and or disrupt him, because we don't have to tackle him to disrupt him. I don't know if you guys watched even the last 2 games. Our defensive linemen's hands have changed the trajectory of the ball or blocked passes, right? If we can do that, there's a path to win this game because they are so dependent on low percentage big plays to score. If he has an off game or we can get our hands in his face or at least get in his head a little bit, our cornerbacks are stronger than our linebackers. Where we've been losing is our linebackers.
Yeah.
They have not been filling the gaps. So if it's either, hey, you're going to run and we load the box and we're comfortable with our cornerbacks, then there is a possibility and path to win. And again, I'm saying all of this without looking at the tape because that's for next week's show, right? But there is a path to win all of those games.
Question.
Whether the team has the mental fortitude to actually do that,
it's a big question.
And if JRP comes back at more than 65%, right? That changes the trajectory of that conversation too. But right now, I could see us with the current offense, even with Timmy at the helm. If he doesn't make the mistakes that he made with the interceptions or whatever, and he just throws the ball away. We beat Baylor.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right? If RJ Harvey doesn't have a stupid fumble, we beat Baylor. You know?
I think
like 11 plays.
I think with Timmy,
that could have been better.
Those plays are going to happen I think every game he's going to make. I just think that's a part of his game that you almost have to live with.
Oh, did we lose him?
You know,
almost got it.
You almost got me.
I almost had another picture for our game thread.
But I do think that those plays are because in the 3 games we've watched him play, he's made bonehead decisions all 3 games.
But he's also made some awesome plays. He's just got to stop running the length of a football field trying to get away from people.
But the problem is with our defense, I don't think you have wiggle room to do that. Like that's again, if we're completely disregarding the defense, I think we can go and compete with Oklahoma. But my thing is you can't disregard the defense. The defense is going to be whenever our offense isn't on the field, the defense is on the field.
Right, but if you're saying, hey, we're going to go play ball control, you've got Dylan Gabriel.
That's our only path to win.
But if we do that and we run the ball effectively, right, and you've got 5, 6, 7, 8-minute drives, right? Yep. You've got Dylan Gabriel, who's got low percentage offense, which is airing the ball out, and you're going to make those 50-50, 40%, 40-50% of the time. They're big chunk plays, but you got 3 and outs. And if you play ball control and you can run the ball, you can win the game.
Dude, he's completing 72% of his passes, though. So it's got to be more than just the long ball.
I understand that, but what's his average? How many of those are short and how many of them are long? Look at the yardage that he's completing. It's 300 or so some odd yards. Most of what he's completing is short yardage, screen plays, things like that. Your 50-50 balls, he's not completing 70%. He's completing 40 to 45%. All right, we need to stop talking about Oklahoma.
That's next week. All
right, let's move on. Let's move on and let's kind of move on quickly because we're at 141. Yeah. So I'm changing this week segment.
Yelling at that cloud. That's what it was.
Well, you know what? This is the week to yell.
Yes.
All right.
Dang right.
I'm showing energy. Come on, UCF. Let's bring that energy. So for this week's segment, we usually have Alan's Oxymoronic fun facts of the week. This week we are Alan's Oxymoronic depressing stats of the week because there's not a whole lot of fun stats. So Alan, let's hit it.
All right. So UCF gave up 399 yards rushing against Kansas last weekend. The last time we gave over 300 yards was versus SMU in 2021. But the last time this is the most rushing yards UCF has given up since 2018. Does anyone want to take a guess who that team was that actually ran for 418? There you go. That was it. Yeah. Yep. Memphis, we allowed 401 yards to Memphis in the 2018 AAC.
Come on, Trey.
Roger already alluded to this, but that was the first time we were shut out in the first half since 2015, and that was against Cincinnati. The last time we gave up 35 plus straight in 3 straight games was in 2020. This is the first 3-game losing streak of Gus Malzahn's head coaching career. And if we lose to Oklahoma, that'll be our first 4-game losing streak, obviously, since 2015. And then the ultimate stat of the game or the day, UCF has played with a backup quarterback in some capacity, whether it's at the start of the game or because the starting quarterback left the game, in 20 of the last 33 games.
Wow.
That's huge, dude. That's huge.
20 of the last 33. So we're talking.
Right. Do you have any good stats?
I do not.
Do you have any good stats?
I was trying to find, I got tired counting, truthfully, but I was trying to find the last time UCF didn't have a rushing touchdown in a game. And I got as far as like 2016. I would assume it's 2015. So I think we've had a rushing touchdown in every game for roughly 7 seasons straight, at least 1 rushing touchdown. So there's your positive. I don't know the exact number of games, but it's like something.
That That includes the last game, right?
Yeah, because RJ Harvey had a rushing touchdown.
Right. All right. Okay, we're leaving it on a positive note because we're all about positivity on this show this week. So, all right, without further ado, we are now going to pivot to Josh's sometimes funny fact of the week, which he never thinks is funny, but ends up being ironic or funny every week. So go ahead, Josh.
So I'm going to give you well, actually we might do both, but it's all about bye weeks this week. So let's go with, we'll do both of them. What is the last, since we're playing Oklahoma and since, top 5 ranked team, probably not going to do so good. When is the last time we lost on the road after a bye week?
After a bye week on the road. Oh, man.
Is it after 2015?
Yeah, 2015. Right?
Is it after
that yes, but
that's the safe bet.
It was.
I'm thinking 2020.
More recent than that.
2021.
Navy. Remember that?
Oh, that's right. When Mikey Keen's first start. DG got injured, and then we had a bye week. Yeah.
And we had a bye week, and we were Navy came back with 17 points in the fourth quarter, and then we still had after we coughed up the ball, and we still got down to like the 14-yard line.
Couldn't get it done.
Yeah, couldn't get it done, and had like 1 or 2 picks dropped by Navy, and then they picked up the second or third one. And
Navy are Achilles heel.
That was the first loss to Navy too. So maybe on a more positive, kind of more positive note. What was the last road bye week then road game win that we had?
Bye week then road. I'm assuming it's after 2018 because we won every single game there. So you don't want to make it that. You don't want to make it that easy.
2022.
It was that easy. It was 2018. Yeah. Well, actually, it depends on how you call it, because I think was it 2018 that we had a hurricane.
Gosh, here we go again.
We didn't necessarily have a bye week. It was 2017.
Oh, was that after Memphis took flight after they showed up?
Actually, my apologies. This was because it was the last road bye week win. It wasn't 2018. It was before that.
Okay.
Well, because we didn't have a road game after.
It was a home game.
So 2017. I just go on.
Trey played in it. That was when Trey and company played in Maryland.
Trey looks super confused right now.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
It's hard to remember.
That makes sense. That does make sense.
Yeah.
It was the Maryland game.
Week. Yeah.
I was at the Maryland game.
So was
2017.
What? 38-10. It was.
We had a bye week that week. That was like the third game of the
season.
season.
Because remember, the hurricane.
The hurricane. The Georgia Tech game was canceled.
Yeah, the Georgia Tech game got canceled.
I heard Frost didn't want to play that one.
What did you hear, Trey? What's the inside?
Play either. But I'm not gonna lie to you. That game when we played Navy, that triple option, that was the tipping point of how we felt physically. That game wore us down because I think we had gone, I forgot how many games up to that point
without a off week because we had it early in the season.
Yeah, and if you look at just defensively the numbers, we were horrible after that game going on until Auburn, which after we got a month to rest, Other than that, like we played and
I think Bam Moore's hit, which was awesome in the Navy game.
Yeah.
So
we were wore down.
Lots of weird, and if you look at like what happens after bye weeks, there's like no rhyme or like you would think you get the heel up. No, it's like I try to figure out that's why I did road, because we do all right after bye weeks. It's not like consistently good or consistently bad. It's like just yeah.
All right, so we will pivot again to something more positive. Pivot. All right, so we're gonna pivot to a little bit of listener love. So we got actually lots of comments this week. I want to thank everyone who's giving us feedback, who's correcting us on our mistakes, like me saying Leopold instead of Leipold, and various other things. I appreciate that we talk for 2 hours and we're gonna screw things up at some point, right? We try to be as prepared as possible for you guys, and 99% of the time we're correct, but that 1% guts up and bites us, and we appreciate you guys doing that. Remember to keep giving us feedback. We have 2 Apple reviews, 5-star reviews. Keep those coming. Tell your friends. But right now, I want to kind of highlight a couple of very engaged listeners. So number one that I want to highlight is actually Blue Skies Trevor 5200, who left us a LinkedIn comment. And his first comment was, "It did in fact rain." So Josh, you did wear your shorts for a reason in your high side bikini. It was not heavy, but it did lightly rain around halftime. I think that may be when you were at the bathroom. I think that partly contributed to a lot of people leaving the game early. We hit him back, and he said, yes, it definitely rained during the game. Like I said, it was very light and didn't last long. I think because everyone is expecting heavy rain as soon as it started, and we were up 28 points. I saw a lot of people pack up and leave. He said, this is my first time listening, and compared to all the other podcasts, much respect to you guys. I've heard this week on the subject. Y'all did the best job covering it, covering everything. Thank you, Blue Skies. Please keep on listening. Tell your friends, and we appreciate you. And then number 2 is Pittsfield 29. He says, in regard to both to depth, don't look at stars, look at P5 experience. KSU brought back 4 of the 5 players from the Big 12 O-line in 2022, and some of their players have been in their system for 6 years. That was also true for Kansas. P5 strength and conditioning is key. KSU and Baylor's facilities blow away UCF's for now. And with experience, UCF players will improve to being in a P5 conference year in and year out. Totally agree with you, Pittsfield 29. Keep those comments coming. Thank you for listening. We appreciate all of you. We're gaining followers. Please tell your friends. Keep it coming. And those of you that aren't, actually 80% of you that are listening to this podcast are not following. We're gaining more and more traction. Please do us the favor of continuing to follow. If you like us, tell us. If you don't like us, tell us why. It only makes us better. So moving on, let's pivot again to the Big 12 pivot. I think that's a thing now for both of our podcasts.
Yeah.
The Big 12 recap. Alan, take us away on all the craziness that happened in the Big 12 this week.
Okay, so this is obviously not going to be as fun either, and I'll tell you why. Because first of all, so Kansas State, who beat us by double digits, lost to Oklahoma State 29-21, and Oklahoma State was kind of penciled in as a win there. So Kansas State lost that one. Oklahoma, with the big story of the Big 12 weekend, they in theory upset number 3 Texas, and now they are a top 5 team with Dylan Gabriel leading the way. Then Baylor, who was able to erase a 4-touchdown lead on us, was able. They got absolutely destroyed by Texas Tech, 39-14, and then our great hope in the Big 12, who after the Texas Oklahoma leave, TCU got beat by double digits by Iowa State. Whoa.
Iowa State scored more than 9 points?
Yeah, 27-14 final there, beating Texas.
Did they get their players back from like the cheating scandal, the gambling scandal, or what happened?
I don't know. I think TCU just fell apart in that one. And making matters even worse was Houston, Cincy, and BYU were all on bye. So with our loss, it dropped us into dead last in the conference, and we couldn't even share the newcomer.
How many wins does Houston have?
They are they're 2-3, but they're 0-2 in the conference. And we're 0-3 in the conference, and then Cincy's 0-2 in the conference also. Gotcha. And then BYU is actually 4-1 right now, and 1-1 in the conference. So we're in dead last, and we couldn't even share looking bad with the other new conference mates because they were all on bye.
All right. So for those of you that are not watching the YouTube show, and you should be, I updated the title of this on the banner to say Big 12 Super Depressing Recap by Alan Sadface. So thank you, Alan, for bringing us down this week. All right.
Well, the teams that beat us ended up getting destroyed. So it's just like, God.
By teams we thought were penciled in W's.
Exactly. So it makes it even worse.
All right. So I guess we're going to hold our pick your poison score prediction until next week, because we're going to be talking about Oklahoma. And I'll leave this for the end of the show. We've got a surprise for you as well. You see how I keep teasing this, so you guys keep watching until the end. You know, I'm just saying, you know, there's a strategy behind the madness. Because we do such great things that we want you to experience the end of the show. So let's go ahead and move on to the UCF Athletic Sports update for this week. Who's doing that this week?
I said Josh.
Wow.
I'm
Josh,
bold.
you are doing it this week since you did such a great job in your read last week. Let's go ahead and do the quick update on other UCF sports.
This is like when you get injured and someone takes over your job and you never get it back. So that's great.
I'm not saying, I am the host of the show because I could just take it back. I'm just saying. Feel free.
I don't know. So and now Roger with so UCF Sports had a mixed bag over here, and you didn't even put on the women's golf tournament win in here, but that's on an aside. We had our men's soccer. Our men's soccer team is now number 2 in the nation and beat Georgia Southern with a brace 2-0. Old Dominion is up next, and you know we need Marshall to lose a game or two. I would love to. Alan's the stats person. I'd love to know when was the last.
We don't need them to do anything. We're number 2 in the country right now, so no matter what, our seed is going to be ridiculous if we make it through.
Can you let me finish? I need Alan to get on the stats so we can figure out if we've ever had a number 1 team in any of these
we
sports.
Haven't. I mean, unless you count the cheerleading squad.
Yeah, I know they won, but yeah, I think that could be our first number 1 in the nation. That's why we need Marshall to lose. Or we
at
could
the
have
FBS level, yes. However, FCS we have.
Yeah. I think maybe
at the FBS level it'll be our first. Yeah, because I read because UCF Soccer's Twitter put it out that they were the highest ranked team in UCF history at a power or at a FBS level.
Yeah. Well, we need to get to number 1 because we don't want to be the cows at number 2 and talk about that.
That was coming. So on the
rest of our career, I'm 80 years old, and we were number 2 once for 2 weeks before we completely imploded.
I scored 4 touchdowns in a high school game, right? It's this Al Bundy,
and now I drive a beer truck. But let's go ahead.
All right, UCF women's soccer is unfortunately on a 2-game losing streak. They lost to Texas 3-1, and they lost to Baylor 2-1. Baylor, that was a late, 8 minutes left. It was 1-1, and just couldn't fight back. So they're going to be, there's some games coming up next week. Of course, Alan also didn't put that on the copy. So I'm sure they're going to come back with a win sometime soon.
Alan, Alan, you're out. I do the copy, right? And I did the copy when I was doing it. I did the copy for last week and he just killed it. So what's happening right now is Alan's being called out live.
What did I not put in there? Coming up next?
Who they're playing next? You always put in.
Listen, if you want me to take over the segment, I'll source all the data too. Well, I don't mind doing.
You're welcome to.
I don't mind doing that. No, it's not like a
salt shaking going on right now. Salt that.
I don't know anything about these other UCF teams, so feel free to.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely that's absolutely fine. Someone's going to probably throw it in the chat while I'm going, but we have one of our other sports that's doing really, really well, which is UCF women's volleyball's number 28. They're now 14-2. They defeated Texas Tech 3-0, and West Virginia University is up next with no date there, and you probably know why.
All right, so hold on. Let's pause that for a second.
Okay.
UCF's in a conference with 6 other ranked top 25 volleyball teams. Yeah. Why are we number 28 at 14-2?
Agreed.
It's the system, man. It's the volleyball. The volleyball gods, if you will, want to smite us and keep us down. I don't know.
I think that's 100% correct. Okay. That was kind of a rhetorical question, Josh. I didn't actually want you to have to explain the crazy voters because you can't. I mean, honestly speaking, you're 14-2 in a power conference with 6 other ranked teams. There's no reason this team at 14-2 should be number 28 in the country. They should at least be in the top 25.
For real.
That's just my personal opinion.
And just in case the listeners are up for more UCF women's soccer, on the 12th is senior night versus Texas Tech here in Orlando. And on the 15th, this Sunday, if you want to get your Skyline chili, you can go up to Cincinnati and watch UCF fight the Bearcats of Cincy.
I will tell you this. I do miss my Skyline and my Gold Star chili. For those of you that don't know, the reason I am Night Bengal is because my whole side of the family is in Cincinnati. Rheingeist Brewery. Check it out, guys. And Jeff, I don't remember why I can't remember the last name. Jeff something Steakhouse is also very, very good as well. Okay, so now that we've got all of that done, we are at the 2 hour mark without having talked about Oklahoma, sort of.
Woo.
Right? Because we didn't really preview it officially, but we kind of started to preview it. I've got to go watch some tape this week. So kind of, that teaser that I've been talking about. Next week, obviously, we have the bye. So for next week's show, what we're going to do is we're going to take half of the show and do the Oklahoma preview, right? And that'll be towards the tail end of the show. And the front end of the show, we're going to be talking to Trey Neal and asking him all kinds of questions about the 2017 and 2018 season.
Nice.
Things like, what are his, his special things that he did before every game? I already know the answer to that, but I'm going to embarrass him on the show. Things like what happens in the 2015 season? How do you pull a team back from that type of mentality and build upon that? Things like special Frosty stories when they are in 2017 at UCF or at the Big Ten. At Nebraska, all kinds of fun things. We'll talk about the White Horse a little bit for those of you that were around for the GOL area. That's a big smile from Trey because he knows what I'm talking about. The White Horse, you got to look out for the White Horse. He sneaks up on you. So we're super excited about that. And so that'll be next week's show. We'll do something a little bit more fun, a little bit more entertaining. We got all that negativity out this week. And then we'll get ready for Sock Boy or Sock Man or Sock Guy or Sock
Heisman man. Maybe.
Oh, hey. He should have been here for that, right? He should have been here for that. So we're not going to talk about that. Not that Gus would have taken advantage of it because that's not what Gus does, right? But we'll talk about that. And we'll talk about Oklahoma next week. It's been a great show. I know we've all been fired up. Hopefully it's been entertaining for you guys. We talked about a lot of different topics. Alan says Sock Boy is going down, and Josh Lazar says E15 man.
The Heisman thing.
I know what you're trying to do there. It's just bad. This is why you're not in marketing, Josh. But that being
said, that was literally Tebow's marketing thing.
I know what it is.
Isn't DG number 8 though?
Yeah,
I know. I don't care,
dude. We don't care about Tebow. T-Blow left a long time ago. Come on, man. Oh man, he's still trying. Hate man. He's still trying. He's still trying. Now that kind of goes with the jump man because Oklahoma is a Jordan school.
Yes.
Anyway, we're going to ruin his Heisman campaign anyway. I told you I will never go against UCF on my predictions, even if I'm wrong or even if I think I'm wrong. So, I'm going to keep that hopium going and looking forward to next week. We appreciate all of you as listeners. And with all of that being said, at 2:03, I was trying to stretch it to 2:07, Josh, wink, wink. Go Knights and
charge on, baby.
Charge on, everybody.
Dude.